Welcome back to Broken Electronics. I'm Lee, and it's wonderful to have you here today. We've been dealing so much with my PowerMac G4 Sawtooth in hopes of making it the world's most powerful sawtooth. We've seen a number of upgrades. Now let's take a good look at the machine as it is. I don't think there's much more I can do with it to get it to be any better. Is it the most powerful? Well, your call is as good as mine. So let's take a good solid look at it and maybe we'll get an idea. And if you want to do that, please stay tuned. Well, and here's the Leopard desktop on the Sawtooth. I had originally set this Sawtooth up as kind of a workshop for Mac OS. It's got installations of everything from Mac OS 9.2.2 up to 10.5.8. Unfortunately, I lost the ability to boot into 10.0 Cheetah, which I'm 90% sure is a result of doing the firmware upgrade that allowed me to run Leopard, so there you go. It's not a great loss, although I regret it. Cheetah is kind of a worthless operating system, really. I will one of these days install it on something else just so that I can say it's there. But we do have bootable working installations of 10.1 Puma, 10.2 Jaguar, 10.3 Panther, 10.4 Tiger, and of course Leopard. And naturally Mac OS 9 as well. This machine has been very, very handy in terms of networking amongst my various Macs. Networking changed along about 10.2. And the later operating systems cannot communicate with systems running Mac OS 9 or earlier. So this Sawtooth has been handy. I can boot into OS 9. I can network with older computers, transfer files very easily, then boot back into the later operating system. Well, in any event, we're here in Leopard. We're going to cover everything that's happened. I mean, the first thing I notice, it just feels faster. Things open up. I was getting used to waiting a little bit just for the About This Mac screen to show up. And of course, there's the big one that we just did, the 1.5 gigahertz PowerPC G4. Huge. Now, the first upgrade was the graphics card, NVIDIA GeForce Ti, and it's 128 megabytes of video RAM, which makes a big, big difference. The next thing we did, I believe, was FireWire. Now, that's the original. And here's a FireWire 800, which is adding a PCI card. And that has already proven very, very handy. I'm awfully glad that I've had that in terms of moving data around and being able to back things up, etc., etc. The next thing, coming to ATA, glance down here, the DVD-ROM was not working, so I replaced it, and while I was at it, since I had an Iomega Zip 250, I put that in as well, so that's a definite upgrade. Valuable, well, no, not all that valuable, but there it is. And probably the big one, it actually shows up on the ATA bus, but this is the SATA card. 3 partitions of that 1 terabyte drive, actually 4 partitions since there's a data partition too. And we've got Leopard, Tiger, and Panther all booted up, all able to boot up from that, by 1999 standards, remarkably fast SATA 1. All right. Now, the functionality of the machine. We've seen this sort of thing before, but what the heck? The address book. I mean, you can keep your addresses here. There's my grandfather, my father's father. And the entry for me, of course, proprietor of Broken Electronics. So very, very functional. iCal. The cool thing about iCal, we're about to start the new National Hockey League season. It will have already started by the time you see this video. So I subscribed. I went on the internet and subscribed to the Vegas Golden Knights schedule, and it pops right in. So calendaring works very, very well. iTunes is functional. I was able to sign on to my iTunes account. I can download movies. I can download music. I downloaded all of this music. Here's one we can actually play. And I know we can play this because this is music from the 1850s, early 1850s, and I'm playing both banjo and bass on it, so my full right. So yeah, you can watch movies. We'll see how long this continues to be able to access the iTunes store, but as of right now, it's in good shape. iPhoto. There's a family portrait. So yeah, you can bring in all kinds of photos there. And then iMovie does work. It's not really very functional. iDVD. I keep saying at some point I may actually make a DVD or two, but for right now it's just sitting there. GarageBand. Always been tempted to the idea. I would probably do it in the Power Mac G5 though, of doing some music and editing in GarageBand just to see how well it works. iWeb, useless. VLC, Carbon Copy Cloner, very useful. Print Shop for making online greetings and printing cards and various things. Now here's one. NeoOffice, which of course an office suite based on the Open Office project. It loads very, very slowly under the best of circumstances, even on modern Macs. But compared to the way it loads on a lot of older systems, came right up. I mean, back when it was a 450 megahertz G4, I would just type away, and the result would lag way behind. So very functional and remarkably fast. Yeah, it generally just feels so much faster. Word, Excel, Pages is there. I actually should update that Pages, I think, because I think I can get a newer version on there now with this version of the operating system, but we'll leave that. All right, now the internet. This is 10.4 Fox, Future Parity Release 30 on the 7450 processor version. Now, yeah, it gets everywhere, but it's slow. Let's go to ESPN. Okay, there's that. Now, you can see down at the bottom there, all of the things that load in the background on ESPN having to come up. Beach balling. It does come up, but it can take at least a couple of minutes before there's any real usability. It's still, Twitter, Adobe, just all sorts of stuff that load in the background. On a modern machine, it loads very quickly. You don't really even notice it, but it's kind of instructive to see just how much there is. And yeah, a little annoying if all you want to do is check a couple of scores, but it does work. And yeah, a lot of websites. I picked ESPN just because it is an example of something that is very slow, very difficult to load. Okay, so we can, in the interest of time, move on from there. Yeah, 10-4 Fox never seems to want to let go. There we go. Are you going to close? One of my favorite programs is 10-4 Bird, which is a PowerPC port of Thunderbird. And while it loads a little slowly, again, now, back when it was at 450 megahertz, obviously we have email having come in. We won't look at it, but all my email addresses are there. There are actually some things I can do on 10-4 Bird in terms of management of email that's a lot easier than to try to do it in Apple Mail of today's time. So there we go. Always good to have email. All right. And WebKit. WebKit's primary purpose here is for YouTube, as you can see. Now, I will say, when this was a 450 megahertz, I could watch YouTube. I would have to be incredibly patient and very determined to do so. I'm actually loading it pretty decently here. All right. We shall go to my channel. Yeah, this really is pretty darn smooth. Let's open a video. And as soon as we can, I'm going to try to pause it. Okay.
So welcome back to Broken Electronics.
That didn't pause. We need to let it preload just a bit here.
And a very similar one. Welcome back to Broken.
Go back. Now, I will state while we're waiting for it, I think it's probably ready to go now. This machine cannot do full screen. It struggles greatly with theater mode, but here in the default mode, yes, you can see the resolution is not particularly high, but it's perfectly watchable. And with just a few seconds there of letting it preload, audio and video is right up together. Things are working very, very well. Here, this is one, of course, I'll be working on a modern Mac. All right. There we go. All right, so yeah, YouTube is very, very functional here. It's not a Power Mac G5 Quad by a long shot, but boy, it is really functional. All right. Now, we're going to take just a quick time out, and we'll be back, and we're going to run some benchmarks, so stay tuned. And we're back. All right, now you may remember in the not too distant past, I did a series of videos where I ran benchmarks comparing performance of Power Macs ranging from the G3 Blue and White all the way up to the Power Mac G5 Quad. I found that a very interesting video. I don't know if anybody else did. So I've got the final results of what those scores were. So I'm going to start out with Geekbench. The score that Sawtooth got on Geekbench was 264. And I am not going to purchase Geekbench to run on PowerPCs. Okay, so this is going to run it. It runs pretty quickly, but we shall take pity on you, and I will bring you back when we have results. So stay tuned. Okay, and I turned it on just as the benchmark finished. Yeah, you can see distinct difference. Now, remembering the overall score in its previous configuration, prior to any of the upgrades done in this series, was 264. Now it's 831. So, between 3 and 4 times the score. Very, very impressive. System information is all there. You can look at the individuals. Of course, I was not able to save that floating point. The memory, because the memory has not changed. All right. So, yes, 264 to 831. All right, now the next benchmark really is not going to have anything to do with the processor upgrade. Let's find it here. OpenMark. Now, we've seen this before, of course. This is graphics. That spinning ball. I don't really remember. The pre-upgrade score for OpenMark was 332, which certainly this is going to beat that. I would have to go back and look at the earlier videos here to see exactly what the score was with the graphics card put on, but not the SATA card or the processor upgrade. Well, in any event, we'll be letting this run, so stay tuned. All right, 4,428 is the total score. Now, the figures I was taking were actually taken running on Tiger. Things definitely improved running them on Leopard. The OpenMark score on Tiger was 332. On Leopard, 415. I was a little surprised to see it increase that much. Now, the interesting thing, 4,428, that is absolutely identical to the last time I ran this. So, the processor upgrade, the SATA card speed upgrade have had no effect here on OpenMark. Interesting to see. By the way, the Geekbench score, which we saw on Leopard, I looked that one up too, came out to 300 as an improvement over what Tiger could do at 264. Still blown away. All right, now the last one. Xbench. All right, so what we're going to do now is to run the entire spectrum of Xbench tests. CPU, thread, memory, disk, Quartz graphics, OpenGL, and user interface. And this I have been able to save, so we should be able to get a side-by-side comparison. So let's start the test. Yeah, there's the graphics test going. I always thought that looked kind of cool. All right, we shall bring you back for results, so stay tuned. Now, Xbench I am able to save so we can see the direct side-by-side comparison. Pre-upgrade, post-upgrade, both run on Leopard. Incidentally, the Tiger Xbench score was overall was 12.49 as opposed to 13.24. 51.51. I mean, it really is. It's like a different machine. Okay, there's all the system info. The CPU test, 78.26 as opposed to 12.64. Huge difference. Thread, 5410 as opposed to 1697. The memory test, now this is interesting. I'm not quite sure why that is, but we had the memory test of 30.88. It actually went down considerably. I'm not quite sure why that would be. If anyone knows, please let me know. Okay. Quartz graphics, 19.11, jumps all the way to 16.24. OpenGL, 21.67, not as big a jump here, but pretty good, 59.33. Now, user interface, 4.60, 29.36. And you can feel that, just the feel of working within the operating system machine now. It's just so much smoother. Okay, are we all the way done here? Yes, we are. Okay, the disk test, 42.38 pre-upgrade, 145.03, and the sequential 95.76 as opposed to 27.82. Random was 88.86, now jumps to 298.72. All right, so yeah, I mean, it just feels faster. It's so much fun to do things with now. And yeah, artificial benchmarks, how real are those? Well, pretty darn real from what I can say here. So, now why have I done all of this? What is the real point? First of all, is this the world's most powerful sawtooth? I have absolutely no idea. People have been upgrading sawtooths just about since they came out in August of 1999. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there with some very, very powerful sawtooths. Now, if you know of anyone who has such a machine, or someone would like to chime in with their thoughts as to the power of this machine, but I can certainly guarantee this is far and away the most powerful sawtooth I have. All right, so I think we're going to wind up this series on the upgrades. I do have one or two other things planned specifically with the sawtooth coming up, but there's really nothing much more to upgrade in here. So we can wind up this video now. Be good to other people. Other people need it, and they deserve it. In these times particularly, we need to make the world a better place for everyone. And that includes you. So, be good to yourselves. It's got to start from there. It's not the better place we want it to be, so please take very, very good and careful care in these most difficult times. So, yeah, we'll be back with some other sawtooth. I've got some other G4 things planned, maybe some G5 things, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. So until those things do come up, this has been Broken Electronics.